up, guys? We are back with Behind the Bikini, and we are on episode number 74. And before we get into today's topic, I'm going to say it right off the bat: like, comment, subscribe, do all the fun things, hit the bells wherever they may be on your devices, and share this with all your friends. Comment for us. We do pull a lot of our ideas and questions, things like that, from your comments, also from obviously from Instagram too. We're going to go into some questions you guys have sent in today. We're going to talk about the new rule change for IFBB Pro athletes today as well. And then we're going to also talk about just what's going on in our normal life. But I kind of like how this has been working out for us with our timing with these different announcements, because we tend to be coming on and talking about it after the dust has settled. So, instead of being just reactionary, like a lot of the, fake news, all that kind of stuff. It's like we are actually coming at it with a bit of a better, more rounded perspective since we wait a little bit. So you get the real truth here versus just emotional responses. So with all of that, before we get into that, we are how many weeks out from the Arnold at this point?
5.5.
Five and a half. That's it. I
Yeah,
was gonna say,
almost 5. Yeah,
yeah, 'cause it's Friday, so you would be on stage on Friday, right?
Saturday this year.
Saturday, because that's right, because the meet and greet's on Thursday.
30, 35 days.
There you go. There you go. There's your countdown. I like it. I like it. Yeah. Um, Now I have been watching your YouTube series, which I mentioned to you this week. It's been very well done, so I'm very proud of you. It looks great.
Thank you.
So
Thank
I
you.
know it takes a lot to be able to film all that stuff. Just to have a camera on you all day long sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of, time from me and in the gym, but as always, just like, behind the bikini, like when you're hearing from people how much they love it and what they want to see more of, it's really rewarding.
Yeah.
And it's also cool for me to look back on too. I've been watching them too, and I'm like, oh yeah, I did do that, or man, I really had a tough couple of weeks, and it's been such a good week and a half for me. But the beginning of this prep has been awful. So like even just
Mhm.
like going back and watching and remembering where I was like 2.5 weeks ago is crazy. So it's been awesome. And then, obviously you guys know, like we had like the issue with the original content creator. So for Nikki to step up and be like, I think I can do this. She bought a camera, she bought a platform to edit everything. So literally everything you guys are seeing is Nikki producing and editing it. And she has zero experience with this. And I think it's pretty dang good. So
Yeah.
yeah, I really am super excited and proud of it. And the next one, I just saw her teaser that's coming out next Monday, is so cool because it was the trip to Florida that we just had, and she was camera on me 24/7. So you guys are seeing so many like personal moments, and then Jim, in Florida. So that one is going to be extremely cool. And then something else that I did is I started one of those broadcast channels on Instagram,
Oh
because
yeah.
people were like, we want to connect with you more. Like we want to talk to you, and we want to see like sneak peeks and things like that. So I just started the broadcast channel as well. So I just posted my check-in photos from yesterday in there, but not online, like on my Instagram. So if you guys are
Yeah.
kind of looking for like more of that personal touch, go ahead and also join the broadcast as well. But yeah, everything's really cool. It's moving in the right direction, and the hype is, starting to come the closer we get to the Arnold. So I'm getting excited finally. Like I'm
Good.
not scared anymore. I'm not nervous. I'm excited, and feeling like, I earned it, and the opportunities here, and I'm just really excited.
Yeah, and that's so to kind of go back and go over a couple of points that you've mentioned. First, you'll have to let us know how you think the broadcast channel goes. I've thought about doing that before, but I've just never done it, and I'm just like, I don't know if people like them or not. I know I'm on a couple of them, and they just post constantly, and they annoy me. So you have to let me know if people like it or not. That, and then I wanted to ask too. So, just completely random, but what program does Nikki use for editing your stuff?
I think she's doing the CapCut Pro, but then when everything shut down last week
That
with
was why I was asking.
TikTok, yeah, so she had the video 75 to 85% made
Mhm.
already when we were in Florida. And then she was just waiting. Like you'll notice in the one that we just did, there's like some of me still in Kelly's house because we were still like filming and trying to fill in some holes of the video. Well, the video was 75% done and they closed CapCut down. So then she went on to a different platform to make this video, ended up hating that platform. I cannot tell you what it is though. I'll have to ask her. And
Yeah.
then literally the next day they brought, which was Wednesday morning when the video dropped, they brought CapCut back, and she was like, because she had to completely remake the video on Tuesday
Yeah.
night. So it
Yeah.
was a tough 24 hours for her, but she loves CapCut. She says it's the
Same.
best. When I'm
That's what I
looking at
use.
it, it looks very similar to iMovie when I
Yep.
used to make movies when I was in high school, but she says that iMovie doesn't have as much as CapCut does. So
Right.
her preference is CapCut. So hopefully it can
Same.
stick
I mean, I
around.
use CapCut to edit this, all of my videos, all of my reels, everything I use CapCut. So little hack because yes, it got shut down with TikTok. Shout out to Goob because he posted a workaround and it worked. So you have
Okay.
to download VPN. It's an app, right? And that app you have to pay for it, but this is got like a 7-day trial or whatever.
Okay.
You can hook up to a VPN in a different country. So I hooked up to a VPN in Mexico and I was able to use CapCut because it's not banned in CapCut or in Mexico.
Okay. I'm going to have to send that to her. I was
Yeah,
literally just driving home from the gym just now. We were listening to a radio station and they're talking about that people are selling their cell phones with
you know,
TikTok already downloaded on it for
because a lot of people,
$10,000.
yeah, because
They're
a lot of people
listed
deleted the
online
app.
for.
Yeah, they
That is
deleted the app.
I'm sorry. Like I love Instagram, but like if it went away tomorrow, I would not be like a
Yeah.
junkie trying to find a phone for $10,000. Like that's just
Yep.
crazy. That to me shows how sick we are with social media.
So I can see it one way and both ways. Like if somebody has a lot of revenue that they pull in from TikTok, I
Totally.
can I can see that being like an
Totally.
investment, right?
Sure.
But yeah, myself, I never really got into TikTok. I tried during the
Me neither.
pandemic and I just never got into it.
Me
So
neither. It's one
I
more thing you
have
have to
it.
scroll and deal with.
Right.
Like I just never even
Right.
downloaded it. Yeah.
I have it, but I don't ever use it, like ever. So it's
Yeah.
just sitting there on my phone. Like so when it went down, I didn't really I cared about CapCut being blocked, but I didn't care about TikTok because I was like shit. Because even like I have all my files and stuff saved on CapCut too for even for this podcast, like the intro and all that is all saved on there. So it's
Yeah.
like if I can't get in there to get that stuff, I'm screwed. You know what I mean? So I mean, it is saved to my laptop as well and all that kind of shit too, but it's just way easier. I had a different program. I was telling you about this. The reason why I do this now on my phone is because it's easier for me to edit on my phone on CapCut than it was for me to edit on my actual big computer
Computer.
with the, it was Movi or something like that I had before. So it's like, it's easier to do it this way
Yeah.
and it looks
CapCut.
better.
Everybody I talk to uses CapCut,
Yeah.
and I use CapCut like to put together my silly, reels of training.
Mhm.
And but I'm not like editing by any means. I'm shortening videos and changing
Yeah.
music and things like that. But like for true editors, a lot of them love CapCut. That's all I hear about.
It's
So
just so easy. It's user friendly.
totally, anybody can use it for sure.
Yep. Yep.
Absolutely, yeah,
All of my like, and that's the thing, like I did the Movi stuff too and that was pretty decent, but it was only on my big computer. Like I couldn't put it on my phone as an app, so having CapCut in both versions is very helpful
yeah,
because depending on where I am and what I'm doing, I can just pull it up regardless of what computer I'm on. So
yeah. You're not handcuffed to
um
a computer.
right,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And the way that phones are now, like I have the iPhone 16, which is like way better than even my freaking computer. You know what I mean? So
me
it's
too.
like
I just got the new phone a few weeks ago, and I'm like, damn.
I know, I know. For
Yeah,
me, it was the biggest thing was the storage because I had no storage on my old phone. Now I have all the storage.
yeah. Well, especially with how much we like film right now, like filming. I just went on the plane. We had a 5 hour trip. It always sucks. It's 3 hours to Florida from Arizona on the way there and 5 hours on the way back because you're in the headwind. So I was
Yeah,
on my phone for 2 hours going back to like when I first started competing. Cause when you do your check-in photos
yeah.
or your check-in day, you do like 3 or 4 videos. Well, I
Hmm.
never delete the videos I don't use. So I had all of these videos. So Nikki's like, I love like taking time on a plane to like go through my phone and delete everything. I'm like, brilliant. So like
I do
spend
the
like
same
two
thing.
hours on the plane, like getting rid of everything from like
Yep,
2019. Like, so I've freed up some space. I was proud of myself.
yep. So the hack on that too. So when I check in with Jamie, I send my videos through WhatsApp because my videos
Mm,
sometimes are longer than a minute. So if you're on trainer eyes, you can't send them. So I just started doing it through WhatsApp for that reason. But the cool thing about WhatsApp is that it saves all of those videos inside of WhatsApp. So I don't
yeah,
have to save them on my
on your
phone and I
phone.
still have them in the chat back up there with Jamie. So I can go back and look at all
Smart,
of them from the beginning,
smart. I
So
never even
that's
thought
all right
about
there.
that.
I mean, I didn't do it on purpose, but it worked out real nice.
Works.
And it's
Totally.
crazy. It's just crazy how much more you can see as far as progress is concerned in videos, even than you can in photos. Like I know for myself, I see like just the way my body moves and the muscle and everything like that moves. way better just to see progress in videos than it is in pictures.
Oh yeah, you could definitely start to see more through video when the client's in prep. Like sometimes I'll look at their photos and then I look at the video and I'm seeing different lines, different detail, or a little bit more
Yeah.
body fat here. Like they look a little bit better in the photos. So when a client's in prep, I ask them for a posing video, just front, back, front. That way I can like see everything. And it makes a difference for sure.
Yeah.
And lighting, of course.
Of course. Yeah. 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 Every week I do my routine and I also do the walk to the back as my check-ins, and I have all my clients do that too. They've been doing it for a while. So something that I just did this week, as you know, is I just did all the videos for tutorials for posing for Fit Model and all that. So I just sent all those out to my clients yesterday so they can all get used to doing the Fit Model posing and all that as well. So that's going to be interesting too.
Yeah, that one video that you sent me was so helpful. And so like if
Good.
you're doing like on your platform, I'm assuming that these
Yeah.
were for your posing platform, like so helpful. Like definitely see the value in that, especially for somebody that doesn't really I know some people don't love working with an online posing coach.
Yeah.
They get a little intimidated or they feel like they need like the hands-on. So this is like such a good like base, like just to be
That's
able to
right.
look at something, practice on your own. You know, some people get like, you know, they need to just do it on their own a few times before they get that touch with like an in-person coach. So
That's right.
man, there's so much about. I was looking at that video, I was practicing my posing. It was perfect. Like the way that you laid it out was
Yeah.
beautiful.
Good. Well, I'm glad it's helpful because, that's how I learned too. So good example, like I started taking pole dancing classes, right?
I saw.
So
That's
yeah.
awesome. That's really
So I
cool.
used to do this. I did this years ago. I actually had a pool in my house, all that kind of stuff, and I was self-taught. I never took classes. I just did it myself. But I haven't done it in probably 15 years. It's been a very, very long time. And like in that time frame is when I've been bodybuilding. So my whole body composition is completely different. I'm
Changed.
put together completely different than I was before. So it's not the same mechanics. It's not the same anything. And there's here in Vegas around the corner from my apartment, literally around the corner, there's a studio. And I was like, I can start taking classes. That I mentioned that on the podcast last week. I'm going to start taking dance classes. Well, this is what I started taking. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go in and I'm going to they have all the classes scheduled and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, but I don't feel comfortable being in front of other people right now. Like, I don't want to do this until I know what I'm doing is right. So
Shocking for you, honestly.
well, again, I don't want to fall on my ass. I don't know what skill level
Yeah,
these people are at versus me, all those kinds of things. I want something one-on-one. So,
sure.
I booked a private session for the first one. And to be honest with you, like, it was good, but I feel like I would have been better off just doing it by myself for a minute and just kind of getting used to the pole again. So what I did was that was beneficial because she was showing me some different moves and stuff to try. So I went back again on, was it Wednesday night? Yeah, it was Wednesday night, and I did open pole, which is you just go in the studio by yourself. So I
Cool.
just was in the studio by myself, and I used the stuff that she had given me and started practicing by myself.
There you go.
Pulled up some YouTube tutorials too and things like that, and I was like, oh, this is way better. Like I feel a lot more comfortable doing this now because again, I didn't have the pressure of anybody looking at me,
Yeah.
and I'm like, if I fall, it doesn't matter. I don't have to do this perfect. I don't have to do it exactly right. So I did that. So now what I'm going to do going forward is I'm going to be taking classes, which the classes only have a couple of people in them anyway, with an instructor, and once a week. And then I'm going to do it by myself once a week. So then that
Cool.
way I can like reinforce the skills and all that kind of stuff. But I was like, say it's the same concept here. Like I learned better just by, okay, I saw it visually, tactile, all that kind of stuff. And then I applied it on my own. Like, cause sometimes I feel like people just need to have that time to be able to process it. And that's how I am. I just need time to be able to process what I'm doing without anybody looking at me or any pressure. I just need to be able to concentrate and
Agreed.
think,
Agreed. Totally. And I love that you're doing the pole dancing. I've always said that I want to do that to like try to tap into like the slowness and the sexiness for like
Mhm.
stage. And then Jamie's like, you get a lot of bruises from that. So we can't do that like when you're in prep and when
You
you're lean. And
too.
I'm like, okay, well, and then when I thought about this idea, I've been in prep
I'm like,
basically
I wonder,
since.
like,
So
I have bruises on my shin. I don't know if you can see them. Hold on, or my right here. I don't know if you can see them in the light or
oh,
not, but
I could see them. Yeah, exactly.
it's like
Gotta
I'm
squeeze
like
that
all
thing.
bruised. I'm like that's from trying to grip the pole. It's all the way up. And the other thing that I've realized too this time around is like I don't have as much body fat on me as I used to. Like my body composition is different, so I can't grip the pole like I used to. Like
Right.
it just doesn't grip the same way. I slide right through it. I'm like, okay, it's just
Yeah, she was like, if you do it, you need to wear like pants. You got to wear like knee
yes,
sleeves. I'm like, okay, like I wasn't.
yeah. Well, what you
We'll
can
save this
do
for when I'm retired, I guess.
And I should have thought about this. I should have thought about this for the first couple of classes. But what you can do is you can get the latex boots that go up and over the knee, the thigh highs. I have a
Okay.
pair.
Oh, and
Um,
then the leather will,
yeah,
got
it'll
it.
grip.
Give you that
And
friction.
then correct. Yeah. So I should
Cool.
have thought about that when I went in the first time and I didn't. And I was like, I think this coming week I'll probably try that. But yeah, that'll protect your skin a little bit and it'll help you grip the pole a little bit better. And the different poles are different too. Like they have three different types of poles in the studio. So they have silicone poles, which if you do the silicone poles, you're not gonna get bruises because
Okay.
it's soft material,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and then they have the metal poles, and the metal poles are either spin or they're static, or you can like change them. So the when I was doing the private lesson, we were on the floor ones. The silicone ones were easy, but I'm like, you're not gonna have silicone ones just in general. So I didn't want to learn on the silicone ones. It's almost like having training wheels, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I
You
was
didn't
like,
want to
nah.
get used to that. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I went on the metal one and I was like, I could not grip that one to save my life. I was like, I don't know why I can't grip onto this. So like literally like thigh gap, like sliding through. I don't know why I can't grip. And so then when I went back in by myself, I went on the main pole, which is the one I put in my stories yesterday, the
yep.
main like on the stage thing. And that for some reason that pole was different and I could grip that one. And I was like, I don't know why it's different. It could be this, it could be the I don't know this.
Circumference.
Yeah, it could be that. It could be that. I don't know. But I was able to grip that one. I was able to climb. I was like, oh, now I don't feel like such a dumbass anymore.
You're like, this is what I'm used to.
You know, I was
It's like
like,
riding a
fuck.
bike.
I was like, I was getting that first lesson, I was getting so frustrated because I couldn't do anything. And I was just like, I'm like, I got the video that I posted me doing the upside down thing. If you notice, I wasn't gripping because it was
Right.
an upside down spin.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I was like, at the end of the towards the end of the class, I'm like, I just have to find something so I can do one of these tricks. I was like, because I'm not leaving here without being able to do something
Got to
correctly.
end on something. A high note.
Yeah.
I did this, not just flopped around in class all day.
Yes. I was like, I gotta be able to hit something. I'm like, I'm not this bad at this. I swear I'm not this bad at this. So I was like, I think I can do this. And I was like, okay. As soon as I hit it, I was like, okay, I'm good. And the thing you don't realize too is like you get fatigued just like anything else. So it's like you can do it a couple of times, but then you can't do it after that because you're just tired. You know, your muscle
Yeah.
gets tired and all that kind of stuff. So that's the other part of it too, is the conditioning aspect of it. Um, that first day after I got done, my whole like my mid back was sore as shit because you're pulling from your lats most. For me, I'm pulling from
Yeah.
my lats mostly, you
Yeah.
know. So biceps are used and everything too, and that's something that I talked to Jamie about as well. Is she's like, it really engages your upper body, so you got to be careful of that. So yeah, I said that's one of the reasons why I was getting frustrated about not being able to grip, because if you
Right.
can't grip, you can't use your lower body to pull yourself up. I was like,
Right.
I need to be able to grip so I can actually use my legs and my glutes and everything to pull me up the pole, not my arms, you know? So I'm getting there.
Week one.
No, I'm
We'll
like,
catch up next week and see how
I
you're
know.
feeling after a couple more
I'm like, I'm
sessions.
a typical Virgo. I need to be perfect at it the first time. I'm a typical Virgo. Like, if I can't be perfect the first time I do it, I'm like, fuck
You're
this.
like,
This is
what time do you
bullshit.
close? I'm here till you close. I'm not moving.
For fucking real. Like, I was just like, oh my God. I was getting, like, you don't even understand. I was getting so frustrated. I was like,
Oh, I
no, I
could
have
see
to.
it. I could see it. I would be too. I would be like, you give me a skill and I know I can do it, but I'm not doing it.
Yes.
I'm going to stay until I get it or I
That's
hurt
exactly what
myself.
it was. I was like, I don't
Yeah.
give a shit. I don't care how tired I am. I'm gonna fucking hit this. Like,
It's our kryptonite, right? Like we want to perfect things. We want to be great at them, but it also makes us a
man,
perfectionist, which is a little
that's right.
debilitating at
That's
times.
right. That's right. It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. But it's
Totally.
also what makes us good at things too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a plus and minus. Yeah, and that's never gonna change. That's never gonna change.
It's probably really cool too to do like obviously you could do a pole class anywhere, but doing one in Vegas, like I'm sure
Yeah.
like the instructors are really good, the vibe is really cool, like so
Well, just
I'm
even
sure
the
that's
studio itself, like the studio itself is really cool,
yeah,
and like
yeah, like it had like the graffiti and the
yeah,
lights, yeah,
yeah. And like I haven't gone and done a class during the day. It's always been at night. So all the lights are on and stuff, and it's kind of got that vibe to it and all that. So it's like that's really fun. And again, it's literally a 5 minute walk down the street.
it's
So I'm
perfect.
like, you can't beat this, right?
No,
So I'm like, no, this will be fun. And I'm gonna talk to her too about using the studio itself for like posing clients things too, because they do she just has time frames where you can just rent out the studio. So I'm gonna say, hey, listen, you mind if I just rent it out so I can bring my clients in? So it's
that'd
a
be
good little
cool.
place for that too. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
and like I said, like I even noticed it in my photo or my video the Wednesday when I checked in this week. I just kind of let go a little bit more when I was doing my posing check-in video. Like I was like, oh, that actually even looks better. Like so I'm just gonna kind of letting go and just having fun with it. And that's one of the big reasons why I want to do this, because I think specifically for Fit Model, it's going to be about your stage presence and just being able to vibe on stage,
Yeah, not look stiff.
Correct. Having that it factor, having that wow factor. And I'm like, as much as I know I can nail these poses, they gotta look like I'm enjoying myself too. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Yeah.
that was another big reason why I was like, I need to do something where I can just kind of get out of my head a little bit.
Yeah, I love that.
You
That was where I was going when I was thinking about doing it. Like maybe I should do a burlesque class or a pole dance class, and that's
Yeah,
literally like tapping into your feminine energy.
correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. So, just let it again, it just helps you to feel how your body feels when you flow, when you just
Yeah.
let go.
Well, it's like, bodybuilding at the end of the day, it's just a very masculine sport, right? It's like a lot of hard and,
Yeah.
obviously training, grunting, and, muscle contraction. And our posing in bikini can feel that way too, right? You're
Yeah.
holding and gritting. And, it's really like posing. The art of posing is it hurts, but it looks effortless,
That's right.
and then like really being able to tap into that feminine side when you step on stage because 99% of the sport is intensity and focus, and on
Hmm.
stage it can't look that way. You visually know when someone's on stage and it's very like robotic and just like
Robotic.
but we
Yep.
want that in the gym, but you don't want that on stage. So classes
Right.
like this can really help like pull that out of your personality if you're
Right.
very type A. That's me.
Right. Perfectionist. Well, I mean, you think back to Arnold's day. There's the famous videos of them in pumping iron taking ballet classes. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's, again, going back to one of my favorite competitors right now in the men's open is Andrew Jacked. And it's because he can dance and he can
He
do the
dances.
splits and he can do all that stuff. You know what I mean? That's important to be able to move your body the way
Yeah.
that you need to move it.
Very impressive on that physique too with that
Yeah,
amount of muscle. It's just like
100%.
so impressive. I
And I
was
say to
training next
myself,
to him at the Olympia one day I'll pump. He was literally next to me doing a shoulder press. I was doing a shoulder press too with like, my 20s, and he's doing like 100 pounds. And I'm just like, holy fuck, his biceps bigger than my head.
yeah, right. I mean, that's a whole other discipline in and of itself.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing I will say. Like I said, I've been doing Pilates too, and my flexibility is getting a lot better already. Like I can feel like
Mhm.
I can't do full splits. Don't get me wrong, but I'm getting a lot more stretch through my hips and everything like that now that I'm actually doing this more, regularly. I'm doing it every day,
Yeah.
so I'm doing it like an actual like program every other day. But in between, I'm stretching and doing these same movements to get the same kind of hip opening and all of that kind of stuff too,
It's going to
and
help
it's
your
making a
training too and
difference.
your growth.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I really think that's one of the reasons why, like, I'm starting to see that projection on my glutes because I'm opening all that stuff up
Correct.
daily.
Yeah. And you were already working on that in prep though,
Right.
with your dry needling and things like
Right.
that, but now that you're actually in a surplus, really focusing on it, bringing all of these pieces together, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, I could totally see
Because
that.
it's like every week my glutes grow by like a quarter of an inch to a half an inch. I'm like, we're good. We're good. I'm like,
We'll take it.
I'll take the
What's
extra.
crazy for me, my glutes have held at 35 and a half the entire prep. We haven't lost anything. My glutes are
Oh
super
wow.
dense right now. So they were 34 inches at Legions. I can't tell you what they were going to the Olympia. I think they were a little bit higher than that, like 34 and a half. So basically a whole inch and a half more than what I was
Yeah.
going into Legions Olympia time.
Yeah, wow. Well, I mean, you've put on good size since the Olympia. It's crazy how much. See, this is the whole lean gaining thing too. Like you stayed relatively lean, like we talked about this whole time. You haven't gone truly off season, and you just concentrated harder on putting that size on. And I mean, I did the same thing going from Georgia into California. Same thing, going on stage a couple pounds heavier. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
crazy how quickly you can do that. It's so funny. Just as a side note too, that you mentioned your glutes are 34 inches. This is a great example of proportions because I'm 5'9", so much taller than you. My glute measurement right now at like its biggest right now is like 31.75.
With the leg, the tallness.
It's the
Yeah.
leg.
Yeah.
It's so much harder to fill out. It's so much harder to fill
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. That's wild. Yeah. I didn't realize I don't know. I was just, from the Olympia, I've just been so freaking focused on training, and training's been so fun. And I don't know, it's just a completely different mindset when it came to training this year. And then I was obviously frustrated with not dropping weight, but my glutes aren't going anywhere.
There's a
And
reason
that's
why you're
what
not
everybody's
dropping.
commenting, like, oh my God, you're like, she's in black leggings and you can
Yeah.
see her glutes, you know? And
Hmm.
so it's the first time my glutes have ever looked like this. And we're obviously not losing any tissue back there right now.
Hmm.
So yeah, this is a completely different physique that I'm working with. And it is a reminder, especially with how much I was in my head, like no matter what your expectation is, no prep is the same. No prep is the same. So
Well, it's like you said. I mean, like I said last week, I was like, when I saw you at CCTS, I was like, you look stage lean in the face. So for you to say you're not dropping weight doesn't compute
it does,
logically.
yeah. Yeah, like I was literally just getting tighter and tighter and tighter, but then just holding. And I think in that
Yeah.
case at CCTS, it was more of like the rib thing, but I wasn't trying to talk about it at CCTS. I didn't want anyone babying me or feeling bad. I wanted to do my thing.
Yep.
So it was more of like an inflammation response. But yeah, we're moving and grooving now. I mean, as of this morning, I was 125 on the dot. So we're
Nice.
about 3 pounds up from Olympia stage weight. But again, that's where I was like, so in my head, we had to cut to 118 to get lean for the Olympia to fill back out. But we had to get that lean to show my tie-ins. But my
Yep.
tie-ins are showing. So it's like, it's
So you
just
don't need
this,
to do all
it's
that.
really cool.
Yeah.
You know, like I did an in-person check-in with Jamie and Drew a couple of days ago. And Jamie's like, like, at this point, I'm throwing away the spreadsheet. Like
Right.
usually I am like, you know, tied to your spreadsheet because your body is so predictable from all the years that we've been working together. She goes, right now, I'm not taking any of that data. We're dealing with a whole new body here. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
Yeah.
I would say like you don't even have to worry about like really dropping weight at this point. It's just about making sure that you're nice and tight for the show day. Like
Correct.
that's it. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of the same thing that I did going into California. You're probably gonna be able to reverse into the show a little bit.
That's the hope.
Yeah,
She she did she did pull back on my cardio by 10 minutes this
yeah.
week. I was like, hey, anytime you want to drop from 60 minutes, I'm good with that. 60 minutes is
Well,
brutal. Brutal. And especially
it
because
is.
I went from literally 20 minutes to 60 minutes in a 2.5 week period. Like that's just like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But yeah, she's like, all right, so we'll do this, then we'll check in on Sunday. If everything's still moving in the right direction, I'll drop it a little bit more. I'm like, okay.
Well, and this is a great example too of why you can't get in your head and drop out of a show because you're not seeing progress that one week. It's not
Oh my
linear.
God. Oh my God. Totally. And I was so guilty of that 2.5 weeks ago. Like I was
Yeah.
literally like, oh my God, do I drop out? Guys, I would never drop out of a show. I just want you to know that. Like if I make a commitment to something, I'm showing up if I'm in shape or not. Like, but that's how crazy you get. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
and then anything can change. And just like Jamie said, like at that point we were 6 weeks, 6.5 weeks. I was just like, without 6.5 weeks, we could do a lot in 6.5 weeks. And I just
Right.
kept telling myself, okay, well, we talked about this on Behind the Bikini, the 5 week freak out. I'm just here
Yep.
at
That's
six, you
exactly right.
know?
It's
But a
exactly right.
lot can change in 6 weeks, and a lot changed in a week and a half. So, like, literally anything can change. You just have to keep staying
Yep.
disciplined, stick to the program, and eventually the body has to respond. Eventually,
Yeah.
it's gonna respond. It has
It's gonna
to.
catch up one way or another. Like again,
Yes.
that happened to me this past week too, because I was saying I was like, I'm a pound over my stage weight, a pound over my stage weight, a pound over my stage weight. Finally, this week, the food stuck. And I went up 3 pounds, which again is still only 4 pounds over my stage weight since December. You know what I mean? It's not a lot. But I'm like, finally, I'm starting to fill out and I'm starting to look how I should look in off season.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes that's how it happens. Sometimes it feels like nothing is going on, and all of a sudden, boom, it's like, okay, everything is good, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
we can kind of segue that a little bit into Lauralie dropping out of the Arnold. Um, this was unexpected, I think, for lack of a better word. I don't think she's ever dropped out of a show from what I can remember. There's always lots of people like speculating and all this kind of shit. The only thing that I'm going to say about it is that it had to have been pretty serious because again, she's never dropped out of a show. I mean, she was in prep when Shawn Rhoden passed away, her ex. I mean, if she can make it through that to get to the Olympia, I think she could probably make it through anything. She's had really stressful situations with, past coaches and lawsuits and all this kind of stuff, moving, all this stuff. So if she's been able to get through all of that and still get on stage and perform really, really well, my gut is telling me that whatever has made her pull out is pretty serious.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Lauralie. Like, she is known as the people's champion. Like,
Yep.
she's people's
That's right.
favorite, and it's because she shows up for her fans.
That's
And
right.
And I know from her posting that the Arnold is one of her favorite shows.
Uh-huh.
Obviously she's won it a few times. It's a very successful show for her. Yeah. So, obviously whatever's going on, we wish her obviously that she's okay. And hopefully it's nothing, too serious. But I
Right.
would assume that at this point, with being so close to the show, that it was something that was, serious health
Yeah.
wise or personally, whatever. So,
Yep.
a lot of people get upset about that because that's taking a spot from somebody else, but obviously that wasn't her intention,
No,
so
absolutely not.
she, and also too, we've talked about this before with other pros and stuff with their situations. Like, she owes us no explanation. Zero
Yep.
explanation. And also too, like, when we're pros and we're signing contracts at these shows, like for the IFBB to let her out of a contract as well, it meant that she had a legitimate reason without
Right.
penalty. So we just have to trust that whatever's going on, it was what's best for her. And hopefully we'll be seeing her at the Olympia. That's
Yeah.
that's obviously she needs to focus this year on keeping her title. That's number one.
Yep. Yep. And clearly, I mean, she's okay because she's mentioned she's going to be at the Arnold regardless. In her video, she did mention that the decision was made 3 weeks ago. So clearly, this was not something that she took, you know, lightly,
Yeah.
right? This is something that she
She was
really,
contemplating.
yeah, I have a feeling she was like, okay, I just have to make this announcement, make it real. You know what I mean? So, my gut's telling me, probably something hormonal or something along that line. Who knows? Don't know exactly what it is, but whatever it is, I'm sure she did not make this decision lightly.
Yeah,
So
and I can
it is
imagine too the
unfortunate.
pressure of coming online and having to tell, again, we don't owe anybody anything, but there's pressure to tell your fans and the why.
Right.
And some things are private. We're
Right.
human, and we want privacy too, but it's like that pressure of needing to share, but also what do you share? And I think she did it perfectly.
Yeah, agree. And it's going back to, she doesn't need to give an explanation if she doesn't want to. That's not something she owes us.
Yeah,
Um, so it's unfortunate from a fan standpoint too. It's also, I think, unfortunate from a competitor standpoint, because I know for you, you're a competitor, and you want to be up against the best of the best when you go on stage. You don't want to have that little asterisk by your name that says, "Well, what if she had been here? What would have happened?" You know what I mean? We
totally.
had that happen this past year, at the
I was going to
Olympia
say, if anybody understands that the
with
best, right, it
Maureen,
would be
and yep.
Lauralie. And yeah, I mean, of course, like, what an opportunity it would have been for me to get
Yep.
next to the one that won the Olympia this
Right.
past year, right? But again, this is a hobby. At the
Yep.
end of the day, this is not all of our jobs. This is not all of our full-time jobs. Health and, like she said, longevity in the sport is number one. So whatever is going on, the Arnold was not in the cards for her for health or longevity, whatever, we want to, transpire about that. Um, yeah, I just hope, everything's okay. But just like you
Yeah.
said, she is traveling. She's going to the women's
Mhm.
workshop this weekend. She said she hopes to be at the Arnold. So hopefully she can work on whatever's going on, and then we'll see her, fresh at the Olympia. Maybe she'll come out for a couple shows before that. Who knows? The
Yeah.
season hasn't even gotten started yet.
Right. Right. And again, going back to the same thing, like, when we're talking about health concerns and stuff, Maureen, for the Olympia, knew she was dropping out weeks ahead of time, but she tried to push through, and it didn't work. So I think that's kind of probably the same kind of mindset that Lauralie has had for the last few weeks. She probably tried to push through and see if she could make it work, and it just wasn't
I mean,
happening.
honestly, any high caliber pro athlete does have that mentality, right? We look at football all the
Right.
time. I mean, we have, people playing football with broken fingers, and
Right.
Malone, or who's the Chiefs guy? He had like a torn Achilles and he was still
Yeah.
playing in the game. Like, if
Yep.
you're a pro athlete, you show up for your team, you show
That's
up and
right.
you finish the job. And that's what I was saying. Like, I was, threatening myself, like, when do I pull out of the show because I wasn't responding? I will always show up for my
Yep.
commitment,
That's
because I
right.
am a pro athlete. So for someone to be able to pull out, it had to be, serious. But you would want to know, when you make that decision, you did everything possible before you do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we wish her well. I mean, we'll all see her still at the Arnold too. So hopefully she's doing okay. And that kind of bridges us into our topic of longevity, which goes into the new IFBB rule change. So this
All right,
happened.
guys, this is my new favorite thing from Prozis. I put this in my Greek yogurt, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that now and show you what it looks like. So one scoop is about 30 grams, so we're gonna dump that in. There we go, just a little over 30 grams. The reason why I bring this up is because sometimes it can be a little bit confusing to look at these labels back here for Prozis and how they do their nutrition. Now again, they're based out of Portugal, so they have to report their nutrition labels a little bit differently. So the easiest thing to do when you're trying to figure out your macros is you're just gonna scan the barcode, and it's gonna come up in your MyFitnessPal, and then you're gonna put in how many grams you're actually using. The actual reading that comes up for this is for 100 grams. Now I didn't use 100 grams, it was like 31.7 if you noticed when I stuck it on the scale. So just make sure you're putting in the correct amount of grams, and then you'll get your correct amount of macros for it. But yeah, it's phenomenal. It's like, you can put this into just, you know, water or something like that too, because it's actually a protein shake. But I'm gonna put some blueberries on here as well, and that's part of my new breakfast tradition at this point. It's really, really good. And there you go, 100 grams of frozen blueberries. Of course, we gotta go with frozen. They give you the extra crunch. So that is a pretty complete breakfast right there. And I'm gonna add with this my bagel and some bacon, and yeah, good to go. You gotta love those off-season breakfasts right there. Yes.
This happened this past week. And again, everybody went freaking buttball crazy on social media about this, and so I'm not a pro anymore, and blah 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 blah. Okay, breathe, just breathe. First of all, just breathe. I'm like, nobody is trying to take away your win. Nobody's trying to take away your win as a pro. Once you're a pro, you're a pro. They're talking about being active versus inactive, right? If you don't ever plan to get on stage again, why are you going to renew your membership anyway? It doesn't matter. If you're retired, you're retired. You still won. You still are an IFBB pro. And here's the other thing that nobody's talking. We're going to go through the rule in a second. This is the one thing that nobody's talking about, right? So everybody's getting all up in arms about losing your pro status. Well, if you're a pro and you decide, you know, maybe your membership is expired and you can't get your pro card again, you got to go back to the NPC. Shouldn't you be able to win your pro card again like that? Like,
you know, it's funny you said that, because Ian Valeri, who just retired from open bodybuilding last year,
yeah,
he was like, should I just let my membership run out in 3 years and then fuck around and find out at nationals and see if I can get it again? Because that's true. Like, if you truly are a pro, and like, obviously if you don't go like, you know, balls to the wall with like body fat or like atrophy, like, you should be able to show back up to nationals and snag a pro card again if you really wanted it.
Well, here's the thing. It's like, if you can't re-win your pro card, what makes you think that you're going to be able to do anything on the pro stage?
That's it. You know, that's what we always go back to. You know, it's like athletes that are, you know, they're getting ready for nationals. And they're like, well, what if I don't qualify at the regional show? And I'm like, well, if you don't qualify at the regional show, we have no business going to the national show. Like, that's the easy part.
Like, I always relate it to regular sports like football. I'm like, if you can't play quarterback in college, what makes you think you can play quarterback in the NFL? What makes you think you can do that?
Yeah.
Like, it's just fucking common sense.
It does go to what you're saying, and I don't know if this is like an ego thing or like a status thing. Like, once you receive your IFBB Pro card, no one can take that away from you.
Yeah.
You earned it. You could call yourself a pro. Just because you are not active in the office doesn't mean that you can just like stop saying that, or like you're going to get in trouble for calling yourself a pro. Like, nobody can take that away from you.
No.
So if you're not going to be competing, then you don't need to pay your $285 fee to the IFBB and carry your little pro card, which they don't even send in the mail anymore. You get it online, or else you have to pay extra for that. Like, it's just a status thing, you know, at that point. It's just logistics.
That's right. You know, and I had to laugh because you said the whole thing about Ian. I'm just, in the back of my head, I think about like, okay, what if Ramy decided to not renew his pro card and he had to go back to the NPC to win his pro card again? Could you imagine?
And he shows up and the guys are like
20-pound Ramy on stage next to these dudes who are trying to win their pro cards. Like, come on, like,
yeah, they'd all go home.
It's just a joke. It's just a fucking joke. And so they did come back out and they did make a caveat on the rules this past week, which before we got on this podcast, you guys, we went to go look to find it. So I will stick the actual link into the description box on this video so that you can go find it, because it's really, really hard to find these rules.
It took us about 8 to 10 minutes and we were both searching at the same time. Yeah. I'm like, it's literally like,
it's buried.
Deep.
It's buried.
Yeah.
So, and it's on the IFBB Pro. Yeah, it's on IFBBPro.com. It's not on NPC News. It's on IFBBPro.com, and it's under the registration process for the rules. But let's go find. So it's maintaining. We already know the maintaining part of it. The addendum that they put on here is, it says that as of January. Okay, so we got that pro status. So it says IFBB Pro athletes who held IFBB Pro status before January 1st, 2024, but who are inactive may remain inactive without the loss of their IFBB Pro status. When they become an active member, they will then be subject to the three-year rule. And they give examples and all that. But basically, what they're saying is that if you won your pro card prior to 2024, you don't have to renew your status unless you want to compete. Does that make sense? So like for me, right? Say I hadn't been competing, okay, and I won my pro card in 2013. So if I hadn't competed at all these past however many years, and I decided in 2 years that I wanted to come back and compete, or 4 years that I wanted to come back and compete, I could renew my status, become an active IFBB Pro. That then puts me into that rule of having to renew every 3 years. Until I do that, I'm not in that rule.
So if you are currently inactive and you are a pro,
yes,
just don't register. Nothing changes for you. You're grandfathered in at this point.
That's right.
But then if you decide next year or 2 years from now that you want to compete, you buy your IFBB Pro card registration fee, then you're considered in that role of every 3 years.
That's right. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know how much easier that can be. And this is the thing too that I look at. I look at it from the pro status, the pro league status. There's all sorts of different rules and restrictions and regulations, tax credits, things like that you have to have in order to be an actual organization. And you have to report how many members you have. That's part of it when you're filling out your taxes. So I don't know what kind of stuff they have to report. I don't know that. But this could be just a way of them actually creating a census of how many active members they have in order to be able to be, put into the correct tax bracket or whatever,
Well, that goes into the other thing that we want to talk about today was obviously there are hundreds of people that earn their pro card each year. Not all of them continue. Not all of them go to do a pro debut. Not all of them consider competing after that. Some people, their bucket list is just getting the pro card and they're like, cool, I'm done. Well, then are those people a part of the IFBB register list? No. Did they get their pro card? Yes. But then for something like what you're saying with like a reporting method, they wouldn't be counted toward that.
Right.
So, it might be a way for them to actually get like a number who's actually actively looking to compete this year, whatever that looks like. We all want data within our business.
Yep. That's right.
And that's the business, guys. This is how we make money.
Right. And again, we always go back to if you can't measure it, you can't manage it.
Yes.
So if they can't measure how many active pros they have, how are they going to increase that or decrease that or whatever their goal may be? How are they going to do that if they don't know what the number is?
Yeah.
They got to find out what the number is.
Yeah. Yeah. I would love to know how many people in a year turn pro and then don't do anything after that, or who do. Like what, like, is it 50-50? Is it like 75-30? Like, what does that
I bet you anything that they have no clue right now. And that's why they're doing this.
It's pretty impossible to manage without somebody like that. Would be a full-time job for someone.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So it's like, these are things that as a business owner, you need to know your numbers. This is just knowing your numbers. And also, guys, I don't know any organization out there where you can be a member and not pay for it. Like you have to pay a membership to be a member of Costco. Like
Costco, a golf club.
Yeah.
Anything. Like you have to pay.
Country club, you've got dues.
Yes.
Your homeowner association, you got dues. Like everything has those. Yes. Everything. That's just being a functioning member of society. Like you pay taxes to live in the United States.
I feel like the fit model thing and this is very similar, and what people are frustrated about, and it just still goes back to this is a business model, and there needs to be payment. And then something else that people all the time do not know, which I didn't know either until a couple of years of competing this, is that pros do not pay registration fees. So we pay for our card each year, and then we just register for shows. We sign contracts, and then we are obligated to show up with whatever contract we sign. And if not, we get a penalty. This goes back to what we were just talking about with Lauralie. If we don't show up without a medical doctor's note or some sort of legitimate reason, we have a $10,000, $10,000, depending on the show, penalty. So, you have to, like, this is how they get their money from the pros as well. And this is also why the NPC is so important, because they do their NPC card and then they also pay for the registration fees. So that's where the fit model comes in, right? To try to like build the business back up and make it more attainable and get more fresh eyes and younger eyes on the sport. So I think that the frustration is that the lack of education or understanding behind a business model of what the IFBB and NPC is and what they need in order to keep the business going.
That's right. Well, and also promoters promote based on the athletes that are coming. Like Lauralie is a big name. People buy tickets to come see Lauralie. We saw that even in that Reddit thread about that. People were upset because they bought tickets to come meet
For the
her.
meet and greet.
Yeah. And then she's not going to be there, right?
And I would understand that too.
Yeah. Promoters sell tickets based on who's showing up at their shows,
Yeah.
A good example, this is a long time ago. This is every business, right? I used to do the modeling thing. I got booked for this car show in Guadalajara, Mexico, right? I referred another model for that car show. Well, this car show in Mexico was huge, like packed, wall to wall, expo center, fucking huge. So much advertising went into that production that when I stepped off the plane in Mexico, they knew who I was. Like the people in the airport knew who I was because of the
That's some good marketing.
Yes, that's some good marketing. Well, the girl that I referred to them to get booked for that show as well didn't show up. Just didn't show up. This was back in MySpace days, right? She was posting on MySpace that she was out clubbing the night before and shit. She just didn't get on her flight and didn't go. They spent over $10,000 advertising just for her to be there, and she just didn't show. And it's just like at that point I was like I am never referring a model to do a job ever again.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like that's your name at the end of the day, right? And that's why I'm just like when I'm referring people to brands or people, I'm like, like it's your name on the line because you're giving the referral.
I felt terrible.
I
felt terrible. I'm like, it wasn't my fault. I just knew her from another job that I did, and I assumed she was gonna show up. I just didn't assume she was just gonna blow off a trip to Mexico. You know what I mean? Like. But like that was a big deal. Like I didn't realize how big this thing was until I got there. Like it was so the just to give an example, like the actual expo itself across the street was the hotel that we were staying in, right? But they didn't want people following us. So they drove a car into the expo center. We got into the car and then they drove around the city to go back to the hotel so that people wouldn't follow us back to the hotel. Wow. That's how ridiculous and how much money they spent to advertise for this thing. And again, the girl just didn't fucking show up.
Yeah.
So again, going back to the pro league, it's like when the promoters promote, which the Arnold is a big deal. When the promoters promote that particular athlete who is the best in the world, Miss Olympia, and then she doesn't show up, that's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially
and I know Lauralie does not take that lightly. I know she's not going to not show up.
I know that too.
Right?
Yeah. It would gut me if I had to make that call. It would gut me. And I'm not 100%. Not even a quarter of her status. So,
that's right. I mean,
it would gut me.
100%. It absolutely would. And again, that's why she's still going to go. She said, I'm still going to be there. All those kinds of things. I'm just not going to be on stage. That's it. So it's not something that like I was into it with somebody on the Reddit thread. It's like not something that they're just going to cancel because they feel sad. Like that's not going to happen. I'm sorry.
Not with Arnold. Not with Arnold.
No. Hell no. Absolutely not. So anyway, that was a little bit of a rant, but you got to remember, again, going back to it's a business. These people are spending money to have you there. So you have to show up, or like I said, with having the numbers and things like that, you need to know your numbers so you know where to spend that money.
Correct.
If you don't know your numbers, you don't know how many active pros you have, you don't know how much you should be actually investing on the pro league.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like and this is what bothers me too. I mentioned this to you yesterday. It's the grumpy old man argument. I'm sorry. That's just what it is. It's the grumpy old man argument. It's the back in my day argument that we say all the time. It's not 1970 anymore. I'm sorry. It's like, it's not.
Evolution.
Yeah, things have changed. If
Nothing
you want to go back,
is the same as it was in 1980.
No. I'm like, if you want to go back to 5 guys on a stage in a freaking, like high school auditorium for all this shit, by all means. But that's not what this is anymore.
Yeah. Like the argument is that there's too many pro cards being given out nowadays, but the sport has grown since that time. And also too, just because somebody earns a pro card doesn't mean they're going to necessarily, please don't take this the wrong way, do anything with it. There's some athletes that never show up again. There's some athletes that never can go high up in the pro league, so it's like, it's not clogging up the system at
No.
all. Like,
No.
it's, you know, the best of the best are going to rise to the top. It's just
That's right.
how it is. So, you know, genetic freaks, or, you know, people that continue to work on their physique and build. Like, I feel like I'm one of those. Like, I literally started with nothing, and I've just
Yeah.
created this physique and, you know, brought things down and built things up. Like, or if you don't, you just kind of stay second, third call out. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So it's like, it doesn't affect anyone, the amount of pro cards that are given
No.
out. It's still
No.
just as hard these days to get a pro card.
It is.
You know?
And even on that regard too, like if somebody gets a pro card by default, how does that affect you? It doesn't. Like, it doesn't affect you. It affects them. It doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect anybody else in the pro league. You know, they're still gonna, you know, if they got it by default, they're still probably gonna end up last place. So how does it affect you?
Exactly.
You
And I
know?
have been at national shows where they pull from a class that's supposed to get a pro card. They
Yes.
will pull the pro card if there's not enough
Right.
athletes. If there's
Right.
one athlete showing up in the class, they're not just going to hand someone the pro card. Like, they want competition. So I've been there where they're like, hey, sorry, I know you showed up, but you're the only
Right.
one. So we're pulling the pro card, you know,
Well,
and
the
that
other part of that-
sucks. But
Yeah. The other part of that too is that, you know, I'm a good example of this too. Some people get pro cards and they don't do anything as athletes, but they do stuff as business owners in the
correct.
industry.
Yeah.
And that brings
Absolutely.
money into the sport.
Yeah.
That helps people grow the sport.
That
There's
was an argument too, that, you know, the thing that we were looking at said, they were like, you
Yeah.
know, oh, then people put IFBB Pro behind their name and, you know, they feel like they're a business. Well, obviously we know that everybody's a coach these days, you know, and then you have to, like anything, weed out the snake's oil salesman. You know,
right.
that's the best way to put it. You know what I
No,
mean?
that's
Like,
right.
look at somebody's stats, look at somebody's history, talk to their athletes. Like, it's really easy these days to vet out a coach that you're looking at.
Right.
It's really, really easy. But some people
Yep.
just get connected to, they for whatever reason, they don't have research on the sport. They don't know any other person. They're linking up with a coach that works out at their gym in the middle of nowhere. You know, those are the people that are more getting these awful first-time coaches and experiences. But most people nowadays have plenty of access to education and resources to find a good coach and one that's going to work best for them.
Yeah. Well, even just beyond just the coaching aspect too, most of the people that are judges in our sport today were never pros.
Right.
They just love the sport. They love competing. They love all that stuff, and they want to be a judge. You know, I think now you can correct me if I'm wrong here. I know Tamer is a pro, but I don't think Tarek is, right? The two brothers that run.
I do not think Tarek is correct,
because Tarek had more of like the men's physique look back before men's physique was a thing, right? But look at him now running, you know, Olympia TV and stuff. So
found his niche,
right? It's like, so
without a pro card.
So wait a second. So because he's not a pro and he never earned a pro card, he's not valid? No, he's
Wilkins,
definitely fucking valid.
Yeah, Tim Wilkins, not a pro, still an active men's physique masters competitor.
Yeah, because let's be real here.
Great comedian.
A lot of this is genetics.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
So you can work super hard. You can work super hard, and if you don't have the genetics to be able to go pro, that doesn't make you any less than in this sport. There are so many people that don't have pro cards that are doing a lot for this sport. A lot.
Absolutely.
Dan Solomon, he's not a pro. President of the Olympia. Jake Woods, not a pro.
Yep. I mean, we talk about this too. Like, you know, obviously all of our goals is to turn pro, right? Like, that's everybody's dream, you know, but when you turn pro, nothing changes. Like, we talked about this at CCTS. Are you proud and do you wear that badge? 100%. Like, for me mentally, when I turned pro, like, it did shift me mentally. Like, okay, I earned it. I can do that. And I believed in myself, but nothing changes. Like, sponsorships aren't knocking on your door. Like, you don't just all of a sudden become a professional bodybuilder full time and you don't work. Like, that doesn't happen. You come home on Sunday, Monday, and you go right back to your normal life, and you continue to work hard in the gym. And remember, you go from up here as an amateur national competitor to right back down here in the pro league. Like, you are no one. Even if you have to be lights out in order to, you know, be in the top 5 your first few pro shows. Other than that, they're going to make you work for it. Yeah. You know, so it's it doesn't change anything. No, it's just a status thing at the end of the day. And I'm not taking anything away. Like, obviously that's all of our dreams. I'm not taking that away. It's a great goal, but I think that people just think like, oh my God, once I get the card, I'm going to feel a certain way, or all these opportunities are going to come to me. No, if anything, you just have to work 10 times as hard.
That's right. No, that's right. And again, it doesn't matter how hard you work if your genetics aren't there. It just is what it is. I've talked about this. I work my ass off, but my genetics are my genetics, you know? So you have to find a different why as to what you're getting on stage for, you know? But again, going back to that doesn't make you less than, right? No. It doesn't make you less
and look
than.
How much you do for the
Correct.
sport. Like, let's put all
exactly.
that together too. Like,
that's right.
You've been a judge, you're a posing coach, now you're a coach, like you've done CCT, like you have utilized that status to give back to this community in such tenfold.
That's right.
That to me is like a pro. Like that's what you do earn as a pro. You earn that this platform now where you have a responsibility to everybody that's underneath you and everybody 100%. That knows you. You establish like an example without even knowing it.
That's right. That's
absolutely a big responsibility.
Yep. And you know, the other thing that I wanted to touch on too, this old man argument, is that they're all saying like that pros were better back in the day and all this kind of stuff, right? Because it was less watered down and all this. I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, take Arnold Schwarzenegger and put him on the open Mr. Olympia stage. He would be dead last. Dead last. He wouldn't even win a classic physique show. He wouldn't win a classic physique show. Period. He wouldn't win. He would struggle to get a pro card.
Yeah.
The greatest bodybuilder, arguably, of all time, and in today's world, may not be able to make it to the pro league.
Yeah.
So check your leaders at the door.
There was just like there wasn't as many back then. Right. So like remembering a name or remembering a physique, I guess, is easier. Like, and again, everybody reflects, right? Everybody reflects on the past and like
good old days.
The sport. Yeah. But like our men's open category is insane. It's insane. Like, I like that is more impressive to me. I'm sorry, than the physiques from back then. That's our starting point. Don't get me wrong. Right. Like that, like Jay Cutler, Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, Shawn, like all of these, you know, but like these guys now are insane. So there's just a lot of them, you know, and if you don't follow the men's side, it's easy for them to get lost. Like most people who don't follow the men's side just know the contest winners from the past year. Like I follow men's, I know you do too. Like, and they are impressive. So I don't know. I think that's just a generation thing.
It shifts in criteria and things like that too, because you know, you look at Bikini and what Ashley Caldwell was, fit model 10 years ago versus what she is today. You know, we could go round and round about this. That's not to say that one is better than the other. Correct. It's just different. It's just different. And evolution, this is what happens in every sport. Again, going back to football, it's the same thing. Football didn't look the way it looks today 15, 20 years ago. It didn't. You know, no sport does. It evolves. So you can't get stuck on what the past was, because then you miss out on what the future could be.
Yeah.
Bottom line. So
period. That's a good place to cut right there.
Wow, that was good. That was really good.
Questions.
Yes, questions. So we got a bunch of questions. Did you have any that you wanted to bring up specifically? I've got a couple here.
Yeah, I got a few. Hold on. Okay, so we already answered one. One was about Lauralie. What our thoughts were. Okay, so somebody asked, my glutes never get sore anymore. I push my training and I do glute activation before my training. So I would say glute soreness is really not a true measure of work. Like you don't have to be sore all of the time, especially if you're in a program, a progressive overload program, and you're like pretty deep into it. Like getting sore all the time is not a true measure of work, just like heart rate isn't and things like that. I would say fatigue is, though. Like you should feel fatigue post-workout or during your session. You should feel like you're hitting your glutes so hard that they have nothing left by the end of the session. So there's several things to look at here. I would say without a shadow of a doubt, if you had a coach that understood training footage and looked at your training, we could probably find something that you're doing wrong to not activate your glutes. I would say that with 100% confidence. I cannot tell you the amount of consults that I do with a new athlete and they're like, I promise you my training's great. I'm like, I know, but I'm still going to look at it. And then we do the training and I'm like, we have a lot to work on. And then 3 weeks in, they're like, oh my gosh, I've never felt my glutes like this. So it's okay. We all get defensive about our own training and our own work. Totally fine. So I would say that we could probably find something to fix, but I would look at more of like your fatigue level. And if you feel like, this is how I explain to my athletes, you should feel like you need 2 minutes of rest in between each exercise. If you don't, you're probably not working the glutes. If you perceive the weight to be heavy or it's not heavy enough, that would be my tips without knowing you, seeing you, obviously all those things.
And to piggyback on that, I think it's conditioning level, because again, going back to what I was talking about with pole dancing this week, right? I was fatigued real quick, real quick, because I'm just not used to doing it, right? You do it a few more times, you get more comfortable with it, you're gonna be less and less fatigued. So you need to continue to condition yourself to go more and more and more and more. Now, just at some point you're going to hit a level where you're not going to get as fatigued as that first time. It just is what it is. You know, once you've realized how to activate that particular part of your glute or whatever it might be, you're never going to fatigue it like you did that first time. However, what you're saying is true, because you just have to push yourself past what you are conditioned to do, which is hard. It's hard to do that. And specifically, like, I know for myself, the hard part is pushing myself past where I'm comfortable, because I don't want to go into like my back or something like that while I'm training, you know, so that is difficult. So, you know, what I would say is, like you said, find other modalities and ways to fatigue yourself, meaning time under tension versus upping the weight, increased reps, increased sets, you know, things like that. Yes. Add bands, you know, all of those kinds of things. Yesterday I trained glutes, and I upped my weight for the first time in a while on some of my exercises, and it was just because I had got to that point where I'd done all those things. Now it's time to take it up to the next level with the weight. And we're saying up the weight, I'm talking about 5 pounds. I'm not talking about 50.
So you know? and in that same sentence, I just trained glutes literally right before this podcast. I literally came home, ate my post, and sat down for this podcast. Right now I'm feeling achy. So I'm not sore, I just feel fatigued and achy, and I don't really want to do anything the rest of the day. I did PR in a few moments today. I went up to 2 plates on my reverse hack, and last week I did 70 pounds. So that was a 20-pound increase. I'm probably not going to be sore tomorrow, but for the rest of tonight, I'm just going to feel tired and fatigued and achy. And there's a difference between, that's the thing too, is I think people don't understand like pain and fatigue and soreness. Those completely feel different. So I won't feel probably sore tomorrow, but I'll feel fatigue tonight. But I also, recovery is huge too, so like I'm going to do my boots tonight, hot tub, cold, all these things. So yeah, it depends. Everybody's different that way too. Now you can take another athlete and they feel sore all the time. Yes. It's just, where's your nutrition at too? Like, where's your nutrition? Is like, for you not feeling soreness, maybe your nutrition is just really good. Maybe you have a really good intra workout. Your nutrition timing's really good. That's the whole point of nutrient timing and supplements, is to help you with your recovery and not getting sore. So there's so many of an it depends question here, but these are the basics. Yeah. Well,
that's the same thing that you're saying. Last night when I got done with training my glutes, I wanted to stretch. That's all I wanted to do, was just kind of like work everything out, because I was fatigued from pushing it harder. Epsom salt bath, I needed that, all that kind of stuff. So it's like, those are the things that when you've pushed hard, your body needs it. Like, I'm sitting here in my chair right now and I can feel, it's almost like, it's not soreness, but it's tightness. It's like, I need to get down. This morning I was on my yoga wheel while I was having my coffee, you know what I mean? Like, that kind of thing. So those are the things you should be feeling, not necessarily sore, but like you said, like there's just the feeling of, I need a day to let my body get back to normal.
Yes.
That's the recovery right there too.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, making sure that you're getting, like, I take magnesium and all that kind of stuff too. Make sure you're getting your supplements in.
100%.
So
yeah.
So we were going to talk about this one. Where is it? So info about peptides that can benefit bodybuilders in a growth phase. So I thought this was actually a pretty good question, because we oftentimes in mainstream hear about peptides being for fat loss, or just weight loss in general, not even fat loss, just weight loss in general, like your Ozempics and stuff like that. So The caveat to this is we are not medical doctors. We are not prescribing anything. This is not medical advice. If you are going to consider doing something like this, you need to get with, your coach or, whoever it is that's going to be helping you with this, your doctor, that kind of thing. So that's the caveat to this. But what's something that you maybe have personal experience with or have experience with that you would talk about with the peptides?
Peptides for growth specifically, I would say that the most common one I see, which usually you could get from hormone replacement clinics or, clinics after you get lab work done, all of this stuff should be done with proper lab work, and obviously talking to your coach or physician. The most common one that I see is CJC ipamorelin, which works more of like a growth hormone aspect. So it's more neuroprotecting of the muscle. So it will help you with recovery, and then recovery turns into muscle growth, which is what we were just talking about. So CJC ipamorelin is something that's cost effective, pretty easy. It is an injectable, so it is 100% absorbed. So that's the common one I see. And then the second one that's fairly new this year that I've been exposed to or been seeing is 5-amino-1-MQ. Which works to actually keep you a little bit leaner while you're also growing. So it does have a little bit of an anabolic effect. I have not taken this personally myself, but I do know several athletes that have, and they absolutely love it. It kind of has a feeling, I've heard, like Anavar, like it kind of like that stronger contractions and makes you kind of more like body awareness and things like that. But again, haven't taken this myself, so can't talk about it as far as how it works or whatnot, but all I know is that for the athletes that have been on it that I have spoken to, they really, really like it.
Yes. And I have personal experience with the 5-amino, and yes, it is probably as close to an anabolic that you can get without it being an anabolic, right? Yeah. So the positives with it is, like you said, more muscle contraction, leads to more muscle growth. It increases your performance really quickly. The negatives of it is it expensive. It is expensive. And most places will sell it in like the 50 milligram tabs. They are orals. A lot of people won't feel anything until they've done 150 milligrams, that kind of thing. Your body builds up a tolerance to it very, very fast. So it's not that you have to cycle off it, but you just won't feel an effect from it after 15, 20 days. At that point, you're just not going to feel it anymore. So once you get to like 150 milligrams, you just have to stop and let your body clean it out and do it again. So it does become an expensive thing, and based on you and how your body processes it, it may go even faster. So that's the downfall of it. The positive, obviously, is that you do get the muscle growth and you do get the benefit from it without actually taking an anabolic. So, I've said this before. I don't particularly think that peptides should be considered to be banned. I don't think that they are the same level as an anabolic or anything like that, but they're banned if you're gonna be a national athlete, things like that. So you got to take those things into consideration as well if you're thinking about doing this kind of stuff. I may think that personally, but that's just not how the rules are put together. So you got to remember those kinds of things. So the good thing with 5-amino too is it can be used as kind of a bridge, like you said, coming off of anabolics, because it does have a very similar effect, like you said, to Anavar. So you can use it in between, just so you
I
just
love it
don't
for like an
feel
off-season setting.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't feel like you're just completely out of the game kind of deal, because that's something people don't really talk about, is how you feel after you go off of a cycle or something along that line. It can be really mentally difficult to deal with. So we found that the 5-amino can help with that, just even mentally, and physically, obviously too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, but that's really all I know of as far as muscle building. The rest of them are mostly, fat burning and things like that.
Yeah. Those are the two like common ones, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yep. What else? Do you have anything else? Any other
I have a good one.
Okay.
I have a good one. Having tattoos and competing. I hear so many mixed opinions about this from coaches.
They don't matter.
Start.
They don't matter.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. The only thing that can affect you as far as a tattoo is if it's profanity or nudity. Like if you have like a naked lady tattooed on you or something like that, or if you have the word fuck tattooed on you or something like that, So
yeah.
Or if it's in like a really distracting position, meaning, for example, I had a client who had like the bows tattooed on the backs of her thighs, like if you're having bows, like the thigh highs, that kind of thing. So if it's something like that where it's really distracting, you can have it covered. In general, I don't like tattoo covers. I don't like makeup. It looks different than your tan. It's not the same texture. It's not the same shine. It's not the same anything. So in general, I don't want you to do that. But if it is something where I'm like, all I can look at is that bow on the back of your leg, then that's something where we have to consider that.
There's
and
two
overall,
ways I describe that is if the girls, if the girl with the tattoos and there's a girl not, and you guys are both the same, there's no difference to your physiques except for the tattoos. They would probably pick the girl that doesn't have tattoos. And the reason why I say that is if you think about the top 10 at the Olympia, right? So we don't really see a lot of big tattoos. We don't see a lot of obstruction tattoos. Not that they matter, but we have to think about like top 10 is our standard, right? Or the first place is our standard. Listen, I have tattoos, but I have them small so I can cover them or that they're not as distracting. So, that's kind of the caveat that I go into. Now, there was a girl that just won her pro card in NPC National. She was tatted from her neck all the way down to her feet. She looked beautiful. You could see her shape. You could see her lines. So, and the girl that she was splitting with obviously got her pro card too. She didn't have any tattoos. So those are the things. It's a visual preference at that point if both bodies are exactly the same.
Right. And what I would also say too is like, if you're going to cover it, you almost have to cover that whole body part with the makeup.
I can tell every single time somebody covers and it's almost worse.
Yeah. I've seen I saw a tattoo cover done with a guy who had a full back piece for Men's Physique and covered the entire back with makeup. So it wasn't noticeable, meaning like you couldn't see the difference between the makeup and the tan, right? So I would almost prefer that you do that if you're going to cover it versus just one little piece,
Yes. Yep.
So
yeah,
that's all. And usually if you have a big piece like that, it's usually not a problem because you can't make out specific tattoos when you're on stage. You know what I mean? Like if it doesn't disrupt the flow of your physique, like you just said, like I wouldn't really worry about it. Nowadays, pretty much 99% of people out there have tattoos in some form or fashion somewhere. So
100%. And if they're like that girl that had she was tatted up, like I wasn't like, oh, what's the tattoo piece? Like, what is that picture? Like I was looking at the flow of her physique, and judges have to make very quick decisions. So they're not like looking at the pictures of your tattoos. They just need to be able to see your structure and your lines.
Right. I have another one that I thought was a good one that we could address. This is a specific person, but I think we can make it generalized. How do I know if I'm getting getting muscular is even possible for me genetically? I know this particular person is on the thinner side as far as physique is concerned, but I also know it's in reference to training intensity and food. Everybody can get muscular. Everybody can if you put the time and the work and the effort in, and that's not just in the gym, that's also in the kitchen. And it takes getting uncomfortable. It takes putting on body fat. It takes getting outside of your comfort zone. In order to put the muscle on, you have to get thicker. And I know this is a very, very difficult thing for a lot of women to understand. It's absolutely possible, but you have to be willing to let go and do those things.
You have to work 10 times harder. You have to be very comfortable getting uncomfortable in the off season. You have to probably eat 2 times more food than the average. Your training and your food have to be 100%, but something that you haven't touched on yet, Shawn, which I know you would agree with, is lab work. As women, we have to have some testosterone in order to build muscle.
Absolutely.
Like we have to, and then there's, the argument of, lab work coming back for females and it's in normal range, but is it an optimal range to build muscle and to be an athlete? And that's a moral and ethical decision that you have to make on your own, but if somebody's coming to me with genetics that are working against them and they're this big and their testosterone's coming back under a 10, they're not going to build muscle. I'm sorry. You are not going to build muscle. No matter how much food and training you push, so blood work needs to be in the right spot. just like you said, Shawn, you're going to have to get comfortable putting on body fat because you're probably going to have to eat a lot more food than the average, and your training has to be 100%. But yes, you can build muscle. Anyone can.
100%.
You're just going to have to work 10 times harder than the genetically gifted or semi-genetically gifted. I'm not
I think,
genetically gifted, but I'm not at a genetical disadvantage. I'm just a normal average Joe,
yeah.
but the ones that are, in the significantly downregulated, most of the time, this is a hormonal issue.
Yeah. And there are genetic limitations, that obviously, I mean, I'm long and lean. We were just talking about this with the glute measurements. There are genetic limitations, but every person out there, like you said, if all of those things are in check, can put more size on, can put more muscle on. It's just you've got to have everything 100%. Now, the other side of that is then there's the women who are like, just put me on anything so that I can grow. So there's the two sides of the coin, and you don't want to do that either. I have to tell people that all the time, like, we're not going to just throw you on a bunch of shit. You need to go get your lab work done and find out what's going on internally. Like there's two sides to that coin. Either they don't want to put the weight on at all, or they're ready to just go full board, and it's like you can't do either without the lab work.
And I'll be honest with you guys, like, I've never claimed to be a natural athlete. I've never
Yeah.
been from the beginning. I had a coach that out the gate put me on peds at a very high rate from day one. So
Yeah.
my androgen load now tolerance is so freaking high because of that. He ruined me in that way. So like, looking back, this is also a question, like, what would you give advice for your first show? Like, looking back, do the work. Like, you just found bodybuilding, spend some time bodybuilding, get your lab work done, take HRT if you need to. I think, everybody has their own personal preference of, or perception of HRT. To me, HRT is a bioidentical hormone. It's just like taking birth control, synthetic estrogen and progesterone. You're giving your body the same hormone it makes for itself. So if I was low on testosterone, which I was, I should have just started with HRT therapy, got my levels to an optimal level, and then significantly worked on my intake of food, performance supplements, and training, and rode that wave for a year to 2 years.
Yes.
But I did it the opposite way. So like, now I'm on significantly less peds than I was on in my first year of competing, which is crazy. You know what I mean? So you have to maximize the basics, and peds then we've talked about this before. Peds are only going to enhance what your basics are already doing for you.
Yes. And using some logical common sense too. I'm going to bring up a conversation with one of my clients this past week. She's older, she's in her 50s, and she's been on testosterone replacement, shots and things like that. So she's telling me on our call that she's going in to get the pellets done on Friday today. And I said, so why are you doing the pellets? Because we, the long conversation, but we're not huge fans of pellets, right? So I'm like, why are you doing the pellets?
I know, I just made a face, and I was thinking to myself, maybe I shouldn't have made a face.
No, we're not fans of these. So I asked her, I said, why are you doing the pellets? And she said, well, because my doctor said that he thinks that they'll be better for me. I said, well, when was your last lab work? She goes, September. I said, hold on. I said, so you're getting pellets now and you haven't had lab work done since September? And she's been sick, actually sick. She just had COVID. She's been sick for like 2 months. I was like, so you haven't had lab work done since September. They don't know where your testosterone level is right now. You were doing shots before. They just want to throw pellets in you right now. This doesn't make any sense. Like, why would they just assume that you need more testosterone right now and you need pellets? Why would they assume that?
How do they know the proper dosage to give you?
Right.
And then they're going to put a pellet in you that once it's in, it's in for 3 months. There's nothing you can do about it. So if it's too much, if it's not enough, it's just a waste.
Yeah. And I told her, I said, listen, I'm not your doctor. And she's got a new doctor too. This is not the same doctor that was doing the shots for her before.
Even worse, in my opinion. That's the first thing you do is lab work.
Exactly. And that's why I said, I was like, he doesn't know anything about you. How is he just telling you that the pellets are the way to go? This doesn't make any logical sense whatsoever. I mean, she was smart. That's why we were on the call to begin with. Like her husband said, ask Shawn and ask her what she thinks. And I'm just like, no, this doesn't make any sense. I was like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do the pellets. I'm saying you need to have blood work done first before you do anything.
Absolutely. Like, if for whatever reason women are scared to inject, like I can understand that.
Yeah.
Now, injecting to me, it's whatever. I've been doing it for so long. It's literally an insulin needle, and like I tell my clients all the time, like when you actually do HRT therapy injectables, you pull it for the first time, and it's like, this much, and you're like, is this right? Yeah, that's it. That's all we need. Like, it's whatever. So anyway, I don't care about the pellet so much. I mean, I do, but not as much as not getting lab work done. Like, that should be the stepping stone even to just getting started with bodybuilding. It is a mandatory for athletes on my roster, which they know. Like, when you get started with me, we're going to get lab work done, because if we don't get lab work done, you could be hitting, like we just said, training and nutrition at 100%, and we still won't make progress because something's wrong in your labs, and we have to address that. So we're both wasting our time.
That's right. And I'm
you want to know how to be a better athlete? Get your lab work done.
I said to her, I was like, this is your doctor. I said, I'm not a doctor. I was like, and I can logically understand that that is wrong. Like, it's just like, I don't understand, like, pharma. Just because
you get payback every time you put a pellet. Payback. Boop, boop.
100%. I said, let's just think about this. Follow the money. Always follow the money. Always follow the money. It's like, why would he do that? The only reason that he would do that when he doesn't have any information about you internally at all is because it's lining his own pocket.
Correct.
He's trying to pay his own bills.
But then if we ask for lab work, oh no, we don't need it. We don't need lab work. You're young, you're healthy, you're not asymptomatic. Oh no, she wants all this lab work. Oh no, I'm only going to pull 5 of these things. It is so maddening. I don't deal with doctors and insurance companies anymore. I'm done.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, it's ridiculous, and we've had this conversation several times. Like, when you go to the doctor, they don't try to find the problem. They just try to put a Band-Aid on it. I told her, I said, this is like putting a Band-Aid on a knife wound. I said, this is not. You
know what I will say though, and I just told this to Drew like 2 days ago, which I've been very impressed about. I've had 2 athletes now. One, I recommended SLU PP 3032 for contest prep. She wanted to go to her doctor because she's on Adderall. So she wanted to make sure that it wouldn't coincide, which I knew it wouldn't. But I was like, just so you know, your doctor might say no. The doctor agreed. They were like, yeah, that's a great option for you, blah, blah, blah. So they love peptides. And then I had another client that just went through breast augmentation surgery. She wanted BPC 157 and TP 500. Asked the doctor, and the doctor's like, oh my gosh, I love that. I love that your nutritionist is giving that to you. Absolutely. Like, so the doctors are really perceptive to peptides.
Right.
So
whatever. For whatever reason, I mean, that's coming around more. I mean, I know you do this too, but I listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff like that. Peptides have been around since the 1940s in Russia. They've been doing it way longer than we have here in the States. And that's just because they don't make money off it with big pharma here. And that's the main reason why. So again, follow the money. Real simple. Follow the money. You know, when you can take something that can actually be like natural, it's made from natural, proteins and stuff that's in your body already to cure a problem, they don't want to give it to you because then they can't make more money off of you in the long run. So
preventative medicine.
You're treating the patient versus the symptom. You know what I mean? So anyway, but that was a little rant off of the topic of genetically can I put on muscle? But yes, you can.
You can. It's going to be hard. You're going to have to work longer and harder, but it's possible. But that's where patience is a virtue.
That's right. And again, going back to, like you said, it's a long process. So it's not going to happen in a year. It's going to take years to get that to happen for you, especially if you're older, especially if you're dealing with the hormonal issues, all of those kinds of things. So you have to give yourself time and patience, and you have to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And you have to be uncomfortable. That's it. So you gotta be okay with that. So with that, I think that's a good place to end it.
Yeah, I'll save the rest of these for the next one too, because I do have a consult call. So there's some really good ones on here. I'll save them for the next one. I love when you guys send questions. Send more questions.
Yeah, we love that because obviously we get a little bit passionate about some of these. It's just like, we deal with this stuff every day with our clients and things like that. And it's so frustrating to know that we have better solutions out there than what's actually being like shoved down your throat sometimes, So we love hearing the questions because that helps us get at least get the information out. So it makes you think a little bit more. We're not saying that you have to listen to us and do exactly what we say, but maybe it'll just make you have that little cognitive dissonance that makes you think, okay, well, if X, then Y equals Z. You know what I mean?
At minimum, it's tools in your toolbox. Whether you listen to this and you apply or you bring this back to someone, like it's more education and tools in your toolbox. And we've said it too, like coaches coach in different ways. You might hear us. We love peptides now, but a year ago, we were all very new to peptides. We were all learning about peptides. There might be another coach you talk to and they're just not down with peptides. Everybody has their you know, their reasons and their whys behind things, but you always just take that information and it's more tools in the toolbox for you to understand and educate yourself. And then when the time comes for any decision that you make, you have all of those tools that you know that you can make a sound decision.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what we're here for. That's what we do in Behind the Bikini.
Yes.
This is what's behind our bikinis and our brains. So.
Yes. Thank God.
I know, right? So with that said, I'm gonna let you go get on your consult call. We will be back again next week with another episode for you guys. We are getting very close to the start of the season, which is exciting. Are you going to real quick? Are you going to the women's workshop? You're not, right? I thought when you went to Tampa this week, I thought maybe that you were staying at the women's workshop.
No, I'm on a strict no hugging and germ-free zone till the Arnold. You know what's funny is, remember I was on a no hugging spurt at CCTS?
Yeah.
Do you hear how many girls are sick?
Yeah.
I know 2 of my athletes over at CCTS are sick.
Yeah, 2 of mine are too. 2 of mine are too.
And I felt so bad. I should have announced it before I left, because people would come in for a hug, and they're like, oh no, what happened? I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm just not hugging. And I felt awkward.
Don't get sick. Yeah. Yeah.
I just had COVID a week and a half before that, and I know everyone is sick, and I knew we were going to DC. It was raining, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, everybody take their immunity vitamins and wash your hands. And if you're freaking sick, please stay home. Thank you.
Yes.
Love you. Yeah. So I'm trapped in my house till I go to Arnold, basically.
Gotcha. Makes perfect sense. Well, and the Fit Body Coaches weekend too. So
yes.
I guess no hugging or touching there.
I won't be hugging, but I will be to all of you.
I love it. All right. Well, I will let you get back to your work day over there, and we'll get this out today here for you guys. So with that, like, comment, subscribe, share, all of the fun things that we always say, push the buttons wherever they are. For episode 74, we are out.
Bye, guys.